Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the.
For the third week in a row, we have a special announcement to make. He's back. That's right, folks. Mr. Tyler Lockett is back in Seattle after signing a 4-year, massive $69.2 million extension with $37 million guaranteed to stay in Seattle this past Wednesday. Not only are we going to discuss and go into that a little bit further, we're also going to discuss what's going on with KJ Wright. What's the latest with KJ Wright? But for now, if you're new to this channel, what are you waiting for, man? Show a brother some love. Hit that subscribe button. Be sure to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend to also hit that subscribe button. Join the family, man. Join the team. Once again, hit subscribe, drop a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed. And last but not least, be sure to find us on all social media platforms at Steezy Smith, SteezySmith, Instagram, TikTok. We're a little bit more active than we are on YouTube, but don't forget to find us on there, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Once again, you're tuning into Steezy Smith, and let's get to cooking. So, you might look at this guy, and if you don't know football, you might just ask yourself, what did he do, being that he's only 2 inches taller than me at 5'10", what did he do to earn about $70 million? Well, let me tell you this. He's one of the best and one of the most underrated receivers in all of football the last couple of seasons, and dare I even say, a top 10 receiver in all of football. With that being said, back in 2018, he signed a 3-year, $31.8 million extension with which he's since vastly outperformed, and in the 3 seasons following that extension, he's actually had the best seasons of his career. Starting in 2018, the same season in which he signed the extension, he had his first double-digit touchdown season and a career high in touchdowns with 10. The following season, in 2019, he had a career high in receiving yards with 1,057, and it was his first 1,000-yard season, by the way. And then, as we all know, this past season, he had arguably the Actually, no. Why did I even say that? Not arguably, he had the best season of his career up to date with pretty much a triple crown, if not a near triple crown, as he had a Seahawks franchise record and a career high record of 100 receptions, 1,054 receiving yards, so about 4 yards shy of his career high, and tied his career high in touchdowns yet again with 10. Since 2018, and among all players with at least 200 targets, Tyler Lockett actually has the second highest catch over expectation ratio at plus 12%. And so with that being said, like I said earlier, he's been one of the most underrated and underpaid receivers in all of football the last couple of seasons. And with his new deal clocking in at $69.2 million at an average annual value, that places him at 10th amongst all wide receivers in terms of highest paid receivers in the game. Now, in terms of guaranteed money at $37 million, this puts him at 12th in terms of highest paid receivers by guaranteed money. And going back to his average annual salary, this places him above guys like Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, and Devontae Adams, to name a few. And in terms of who he's behind guys like OBJ, Kenny Golladay, Amari Cooper, etc., etc., etc. And what this extension does for Seattle is that it effectively shuts down all possible and potential and hypothetical trade rumors leading up to the draft. Everyone knows that the Seahawks only had 3 picks in the NFL draft, and most people actually also know that in their entire time in Seattle, John Schneider and Pete Carroll haven't drafted less than 8 players, and so something gotta give. Well, one of the rumors that was floating around was Tyler Lockett potentially being traded for a possible first rounder or an early second rounder. What this extension does, obviously, it shuts all that down. Yes, he was in the last year of his contract. Yes, DK Metcalf is in store for a massive payday, at least, if not next offseason, then the offseason after that. And so with the cap situation that Seattle was in, which is a pretty bad one, but not the worst, not the best, there's rumors that Tyler Lockett could potentially be traded. Seeing as how him and DK Metcalf create arguably the most dynamic and the best wide receiver duo in all of football, it is absolutely paramount to keep that man, Russell Wilson, happy. And so I honestly don't believe that Tyler Lockett has seen his best days in Seattle, and I honestly think that he could build upon the season that he had last year. And yes, we've all seen him explode. We've all seen him have some of the most spectacular catches in all of football. Think back to 2019 against the Rams, the toe tap. Think back to last year's Sunday Night Football against the Cardinals, in which he had 15 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And yes, he does have a few moments in which this appears. I don't know if that's on him. I don't know if that's on Russell Wilson. I don't know if that's on offense. Probably a combination of all three, if I'm being 100%. But with all those things aside, Tyler Lockett is still one of the best receivers in all of football, and to keep him alongside DK Metcalf for years to come can only make a guy like Russell Wilson happy. So I think that pretty much gives Seattle one of the best off seasons out of any team in the NFL. Not only have they been able to bring in reinforcements on the offensive line, in the pass rush, on defense, weapons on offense, they've also been able to re-sign key guys. And another key note, or another nugget to bring out of this extension, is the fact that the Seahawks typically don't award extensions till after the draft. And so the fact that the Seahawks are awarding this extension before the draft can only signal, it can only mean one thing. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but Tyler Lockett was set to carry the third highest cap hit in Seattle this season at just a shade under $15 million. Now, what this extension does is, believe it or not, create salary cap space for the cap-struck Seattle Seahawks. So his cap hit goes from about $14 million to around $7 million, if I'm not mistaken. And according to OverTheCap.com, which hasn't taken into account Tyler Lockett's contract yet, the Seahawks have about $1.8 million, or just a shade under $2 million in cap space. And so if we're bringing this cap number from about $14 million to around $7 million, we could take that $7 million and add it to the $1.8 million that we have in remaining cap space, and together we have about $8.8 million, or just under $9 million in salary cap money. But that's also not taking into account Al Woods' contract, which is a 1-year, $3 million deal. Now, I don't know if there were dummy years / voidable years thrown onto that contract, but let's just say it takes about $1.5 to $2 million off of our remaining salary cap space. So that takes us from about $8.8 million in current cap space to about just a shade under $6 or $7 million. So we don't have too much to work with, seeing as how we have to keep around, what is it, $45 million? Don't quote me on that. Around $45 million in cap space for incoming draft class. One can only argue that I think Seattle was actually signing this extension earlier than usual because they have a plan in place. And no, I know I said we got to bring back Sherm in last week's Seahawks video, but I think what this move shows us is that Seattle has a move up their sleeve, and what that means is KJ Wright could possibly back in Seattle. And yes, I get it, there's some rumors of him flirting around with the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, rumor does have it that KJ Wright has been flirting around with the Dallas Cowboys, who have needs everywhere on defense. And they also happen to have defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, who was the defensive coordinator back when we last made it to the Super Bowl. And so there is definitely some familiarity there. And seeing as how KJ Wright is coming off one of the best seasons of his career, he's not really looking to take the biggest hometown discount there is, even if the market for his services is severely depressed. Now, with that being said, the Dallas Cowboys are pretty much in the same salary cap situation as the Seattle Seahawks. Not only that, they have a top 10 pick in the upcoming NFL draft, and so they're going to have to devote more of their cap space to their incoming draft class, something that Seattle doesn't have to do. Now, I bring that up to say this. If KJ Wright is going to take a hometown discount, or if he's going to take a pay cut in this market, why take a pay cut and play for a different team when you could just stay in Seattle, where you've had all the success, where you're the longest tenured Seahawk, where you're a very valuable player, where you're a very valuable leader in the locker room? Why take a pay cut and play somewhere else, and instead not take a pay cut and play for the team that you played for the last 10 or 11 seasons? That's just me personally, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, there is familiarity in Dan Quinn in Dallas, but other than that, I mean, does he really want to play with a defense that atrocious? And yes, they already have a pretty solid linebacking core. I know Sean Lee's contemplating retirement, but let's not forget Leighton Vander Esch is one of the most promising linebackers in all of football, along with Jalen Smith. And now one could argue that, oh, last season they were out of place, and so they didn't have the best seasons of their careers. Well, what if KJ Wright goes in there and those guys end up having the best seasons of their career? Well, what role does KJ Wright really find himself in? Now, other than that, there isn't really too much out there in terms of what KJ Wright is looking for, or in terms of the other teams that he's potentially rumored to be shopping around with. But I think all signs point to him coming back to Seattle. And once that happens, you can expect around a $1 to $2 million deal, averaging about $6 to $7 million annually. Yes, I know he's not going to be happy hearing about that. But like I said, this market has been very, very depressing towards linebackers who don't get after the quarterback. If you're a linebacker in today's NFL and you're a free agent and you hit the open market, the linebackers that are going to get rewarded are the guys that get after the quarterback. And while KJ Wright did have one of his better seasons in terms of pressures and getting after the quarterback last season, he's just not a pass rushing type of linebacker. He's great in coverage. He's great against the run. He's very instinctual. He makes plays, and he's everywhere, and he's a leader on and off the field. So he's very valuable to what the Seahawks are doing, and if the Seahawks are going to make a Super Bowl run next season to appease Russell Wilson, then KJ Wright is going to be an integral part of that Super Bowl run. With all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What was your reaction to Tyler Lockett coming back? Do you like it or love it? And what do you think about KJ Wright possibly coming back to Seattle? Or do you think he's a goner and that he's not just flirting with the Cowboys, but he's actually seriously entertaining signing with the Cowboys? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Once again, while that ends this video, you don't have to stop watching SteezyBandz content there. Go back to our channel homepage for a bunch of our other podcasts and other collabs. Be sure to check us out on all social media platforms, especially Instagram and TikTok. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.